we could do CardoMax. We were just talking about the hydro packets being dope. So
Okay.
go over to CardoMax.com. Use our code ONESREADY to check out. Get yourself a sweet discount over there. Great company. Known them for a long time. How long have we been partnered with CardoMax? Forever, right? Since they started.
I think they were one of the OGs with us, but like I knew Zach and Sean a little bit beforehand because we were working on other stuff with their company, Mattbach.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So go on over to CardoMax. We were just talking. They've got the energy intensifier. That's awesome. It's great for pre-workout. Just a little packet of liquid. Throw that in water, whatever drink you're drinking, and you're good. You can take them anywhere. They're pretty dope. I have been saying I like starting my day off with the hydro pack. It's awesome. Like in the morning, I'll have my normal coffee or whatever. But then when I'm starting to get my day going, I like having this little hydro pack. Makes me feel like hydrated throughout the day. So cheers. Thanks.
It's almost like it does what it's supposed to.
I know, right? Yeah.
So yeah, CardoMax.com, promo code ONESREADY, get yourself a discount. Support them, support them. You're supporting us, supporting good folks. So, and then I guess you're supporting yourself as well. And then make sure you check out Hoist, drinkhoist.com. If we're going to talk about hydration, can't leave them out. May as well be a hydration episode. You can see the bottle of Hoist behind me, the orange. Great flavor, great tasting. That's the ready to drink one. I know you and I have both moved on to the pouches now, just because
pouch gang.
As much as we're traveling, as much as easy it is to, having your ruck or just having your body armor or something like that, dump it in real fast and freaking go. You're not carrying around a bunch of water with you if you don't have to. So, promo code for that is also ONESREADY. Get yourself a discount, and man, their stuff is fire. Love
it's legit getting like anywhere I land. Like I get to my in-laws' house in Vegas, or when I get to, wherever I'm going, if I've been there before, like there's always like a little like Hoist stuck in a drawer somewhere. So I'm just like, oh, I've been here before. It's like in Fight Club when he's figuring out where he's setting up all the fight clubs. And he's like, holy cow, you go on Tuesday, I go on Saturday. That's me and Hoist packets nationwide. That's how much I like them. So
I actually have them stashed in my car. So I've got a stash in every single one of my car. I've got a couple tourniquets, a couple of the face mask thing in case I got to do CPR CPR. And then I've got some CardoMax like energy, and then I've got some Hoist packets
just
in case.
That's all growing boy needs right there. You just, right. I don't know what kind of day we're about to have, but I'll tell you what, I'm prepared to have any day that I'm about to have, as long as it's set up.
All right, cool. Yeah, check them out, drinkhoist.com, promo code ONESREADY. So welcome back to the team room. Aaron and I are in here, and we thought that we would kind of nerd out a little bit. And this one's going to be probably a little bit nerdy, but it's going to be good, because the sooner you can get your eyes on this, which is the 8 troop leading procedures, as soon as you can get your eyes on this and kind of start wrapping your head around it, it'll benefit you in the pipeline. It'll benefit you even more once you get on team and then you start operating with other soft teams, because everybody runs off of this. And even if you're not, in the military or in the soft community, like just having an idea, like this is just good kind of flow of leadership anyway, when you're trying to tackle an objective, whether it's a project or whatever it is. So it is the 8 troop leading procedures. And then you got anything on that before we hop in the first one?
Oh, no. This is as close as we're going to get to actually giving people the answer, because if you solve problems like this, when you get in the military, this is how you're taught to solve problems. Yep. Like this is it. Like somebody codified it. They wrote it down. The TLP is an 8-step process for troop leading. You can lead yourself. This could be just leading you, or you can lead large groups of large groups of people solving complex problems using these. Okay. There's the military decision-making process, MDMP. There's the troop leading procedures. A lot of times people like stair step it. They're like, if you're an NCO, you should know the troop leading procedures hard. You're a tech sergeant, you should really know the troop leading procedures, but you should also know a little bit about MDMP. And then as you're stepping into that senior NCO role, people are like, okay, you need to know MDMP and troop leading procedures. So start here. This is the base, building blocks, just the basic stuff.
Yeah, and you're going to, like, it's not like this is you're not going to be taught this. You're going to receive this kind of, MDMP and TLPs and stuff like that all the way through the pipeline. So it's not like you've got to know this and then all of a sudden at SWIC, they're going to ask you, hey, what's step 6? It's not going to be like that. And a lot of this is you'll end up just kind of knowing it inherently because you start doing it so much. You're just going to be like, okay, I'm in this. And what's good is if you do, for whatever reason, kind of get lost in the mix, you can reset yourself by seeing where you're at in this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So the very first step one is receive the mission. So you're talking about things like mission analysis, what's the purpose, what's the end state, what's commander's intent, kind of thing.
Yep.
I mean, so it's the very first step. It's like, okay, what are we doing?
Yep. Step one, receive the mission. This could be either by a completed operations order, like an op board, or a warning order. Sometimes that warning order could be verbal, okay? And later fragmentary orders. Oftentimes, MDMP is still developing courses of action. Those are COAs when WARNOs are issued. So basically what we're saying there is there's a lot of things that happen. You're going to have 8 steps here. They're in order, right? It goes from receive the mission all the way through orders, production, supervise, rehearse, and inspect and stuff. So as it goes through there might be things that run in parallel, right? Like you're getting this mission and there's a whole bunch of other processes that are kicking off. You know, if this was a tactical mission, there's a whole bunch of other backside support elements that, you know, Intel is starting to gather their intel and make their plan, and they're doing their own internal, you know, process in order to fit into this. So the steps go in order. Some can run in parallel. The first one, receive the mission. And that, you know, plainly spoken, I always go, okay, well, what is this? And then you go from there. So step one.
Step one. That's easy.
Step one. Done. We got it.
There's actually not much to it.
There's not.
You can also, yeah. And that's kind of where you can. So as you receive commander's intent, as you know what the timeline is, you can start breaking out the timeline with that into, you know, like, hey, are we trying to execute this within 48 hours?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Are we leaving right now? Or are we throwing stuff in a truck and leaving right now? This can be anything too. Like, I want to make that clear. We're going to talk where we live in the military, you know, verse, right? So we're going to talk about complex like stuff. This could be something as easy as, okay, you're going to clean the garage. Okay, well, what's the WARNO? Hey, you got this afternoon, you got to clean the garage, you know, for this end state. Like you have clarified guidance and intent. You have an end state. You have the ability to plan, you know, a timeline. You could follow this process for something as nerdy as cleaning your garage out. And it would probably actually work pretty well. You feel like, oh, here's a plan that I thought about. And, you know, here's my timeline. Here's the support I need. You know,
well, I got to do some painting today.
There you go.
Yeah,
the mission.
I blew right past my timeline yesterday. I severely underestimated how long it would actually take.
Nice. Well, from step one, once you know what you're doing, you're gonna issue the WARNO. Okay, so step one, receive the mission. Step two, issue the WARNO. This could be something as fast as, hey, we have to leave in 5 minutes, get the mass casualty kit, meet me at the truck. Like, that's a WARNO, right? And a short 5 W's typically is what you need for a WARNO. Who, what, when, where, why. Get those out as fast as possible. Include everybody that you do, like, that you need, and then don't include anything that you don't, right? The longer that you have to develop this, you might have like a day. Something might happen at work where they're like, okay, well, here's the mission. Tell me your plan tomorrow. Tell me your plan, you know, tomorrow at noon. And you might have like a day to craft a WARNO, but it could be as short and as informal as just telling your bros to go do something. Or like it could be the start of a formalized planning process where they're like, hey, you're going to drop your WARNO on me tomorrow and walk me through what it is that we're going to do, you know, following on in this entire event.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I know when I was there at the 2-2, like we were going to go out and do a rescue. I say we. The Jays were going to go out and do it, not me. But everybody knows what they're doing in terms of receiving the missions. Like, hey, we're going to go out there and you guys are going to go do a high angle rescue off of Mount Rainier. Okay, cool. You received the mission. 2 was everybody knows what they need to do. And all of a sudden there was a timeline. Hey, we are pushing at whatever it is, 1400. Okay, so you know what you need to do. You know that you're going to need ropes. You're going to need climbing gear. You're going to need crampons and axes and what kind of medical stuff. Because you got to, not only do you have to get to the patient or get to the incident, but you also have to be able to work through whatever problems arise in there and contingency plan, because no plan survives first contact. So, hey, this WARNO is great. The op board later on in step 7 is great, but you need to have some contingencies in there. So you got to plan appropriately. So WARNO is literally just, okay, here are the things. the 5 dubs and maybe a how, and then go, because guys and girls know what equipment they need to go grab. Maybe Intel's in there getting you some imagery is what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're getting their imagery. Maybe there's some kind of fires associated with it. So the JTAC is developing GRGs or grid. Man, this caffeine needs to start. This is really, really bad.
Buddy. You're doing great, buddy.
Anyway, GRGs are so folks that don't know is imagery with lines. You usually have an alpha through delta or whatever it is up top, and then you have numbers, and then you have buildings labeled and all that kind of stuff. So it's grid reference graphic. There we go.
Crushed it.
Caffeine's kicking.
It's a little picture of where you're going so that you can speak quickly. So these 2 steps, so 2 and 3. So you get the WARNO out there, and then step 3 is kind of what we're talking about into now. But that's make a tentative plan, and these are 2 steps that are going to kind of run concurrently with one another, right? They're running in parallel. So you're getting the WARNO out as fast as you possibly can to get people just with a mindset of what's going on, and man, I can't talk. At this time, you're making a tentative plan based on the operational variables such as mission, enemy, terrain, troops, time, civilian considerations, et cetera, et cetera. So step 3, you're making this plan, and you're just like, how am I going to go about it, right? So you're going to get the WARNO out there, but now you're like, okay, well, are we flying there? Are we driving there? Are we jumping there? Yep. Is there water involved? What, those contingency plans in there are really, really important. Like, just like you were saying, you can plan a great mission all you want, but when the problem takes too long and now you have to spend the night on Rainier and you didn't plan for that and you didn't bring anything, like that would be a hard lesson to learn, and really you could kill somebody over it. So excuse me, that contingency planning is extremely important when you're making that tentative plan inside of step 3. So basically step 1, 2, and 3 can happen just like
it's
that.
Quick.
Yeah.
I mean, you already saw how I started going too far.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe not too far, but because you do it so much, you start it just starts happening. Mm-hmm. Whereas at first, when you're first learning this, you're just kind of like, okay, well now it's a little bit more deliberate. Whereas when you've been doing it for a while, it just starts happening. And that is one of the magical things about it. Whenever you're in a team room with a bunch of dudes and dudettes that have been doing this for a long time, mm-hmm. and they're professionals, and then they just, hey, what are we doing? Okay, cool. And then things just start happening. It's like, it's magical to watch. Mm-hmm. Everybody just knows what they need to be doing. And if somebody doesn't, like it's a new person on team, like, okay, then they're attaching themselves to somebody to learn. Like it's a really cool thing.
Yeah. I've always been wowed by that. Like the high performing teams that I've seen. Step 4, we're going to initiate necessary movement. So when I get to step 4, I think about what has the longest slack, like what systems typically have the most slack built in them. And it's stuff like if somebody's producing something for you, if you're going to go jump and it's a jump mission, well, somebody's going to have to get those chutes. You're going to have to put them in some sort of truck and drive them up to wherever you are and get them laid out and get all the checks on them, whatever. Like that has a long bill to pay that I have to start this now. If I'm on a short timeline, I try to focus on those processes. Vehicles don't just magically appear. Like somebody has to sign them out of a book and has to do checks on them and make sure that they're ready to go and get them parked. And then we got to figure out what vehicles we're going to need. And then they typically handle, your gas too, so that they're doing fuel calculations for you. And then, the gear is getting loaded on those vehicles. Who do you think is doing that? Not the operators who are planning it, so anyway, so there's a ton of behind the scenes stuff. And when I see initiate necessary movement here, I'm like, okay, who needs the most heads up? If it's a dive, I got to get to the dive master right away and be like, hey, these are the tanks that I need. This is the stuff I'm going to need, because that stuff takes a long time to get together. It's heavy. It's got to be checked before it goes out. There's a lot of, who's the dive soup, who's the standby diver, all these other things for dive missions. That's where you initiate that necessary movement.
Yeah, and then you've got your pre-combat checks or PCCs or PCIs, pre-combat check, pre-combat inspection. So that's where you're getting everything. Once the dive locker, if we're going to use Mr. Phillips as the dive locker, mm-hmm. he gets everything, and it's like he's already inspected it, so he's going to catch everything that I wouldn't, just because he's been doing it for so long. But you're still, like, okay, we've got regulators, we got octopus regulators, we've got BCs, we got all this kind of stuff. We got enough weight. Do we have enough weight for everybody? Because, and where are we diving now?
Right.
So it's doing those PCCs or PCIs to make sure that we have everything. And then you're also working through rehearsals in that kind of thing, working through the rock drill or the rehearsal of, what's rock?
Yeah. Rehearsal of concept.
Rehearsal of concept. There you go. So, and all very important. And rehearsals are arguably one of the most important things you can do, because that's where you start to realize the friction points in your planning, or friction points that you may not have considered. So, extremely important.
Mm-hmm. Step 5, this is one of those that's happening all the time. You're going to conduct reconnaissance through critical personnel recons of an area of responsibility. May not be an option all the time. At a minimum, you should conduct a map imagery recon, and intelligence must be thoroughly reviewed in order to identify information gaps and conduct mission analysis. So what is this saying? You need the most information you can possibly get from everywhere. This could be human. It could be, geospatial intelligence. It could be reporting from the area. It could be inputs from teams that have been there before or done a mission like that. It could be, anything. It's just essentially information gathering. And you're going to do this throughout all of those, like conduct reconnaissance is happening like the entire time. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
You're just applying it to the context that you're focusing on.
Yeah. And for both of these steps, step 4 and step 5, step 4, initiate movement, step 5, conduct recon. If you notice in there, Aaron and I talked about, imagery, we talked about intel and that kind of stuff. So when we start talking about your special warfare mission support or your combat support, like that plays into how important those things are, because everybody within a special tactics unit or a ASOS or any other unit in the Air Force, really, and the Army and Navy and stuff, like we all rely on support assets integrated either inside our unit or even outside. Like, for example, if we received the mission at Joint Base Lewis McChord and we needed to fly somewhere, we need the 62nd Air Wing, even though the 2-2 Special Tactics Squadron does not fall under the 62nd, we still need them to provide basing support, as in we may need airlift. We may need facilities on JBLM to stage out of if we can't stage out of our own building. Within the unit or the squadron level, we're relying on intel, we're relying on dive folks, we're relying on it, maybe we've got to go somewhere where we need an op fund, so we're relying on finance, both internal to our squadron and on the base, to go draw an op fund. Like, so there are so many different entities that are involved in this. So it just goes on to the soft truths that, check those out, and I'll put them in here someplace, but we've talked about them before. But like, nobody can do anything without support.
Yep. Amen. Moving on. So you're gonna conduct reconnaissance throughout this entire thing. So we're all the way through step 5, right? Step 6 is complete the plan. So you're basically gonna have in here, you're looking at different courses, right? You've laid out all the things that you can do. You're like, should I jump in? Should I drive in? Should I fly in? Is a helicopter, possible? Is there an airfield? Blah, blah. You've gone through all the contingency planning, and you've got like you have your plan. You have your COA 1, what you're going to do. You've got your overlays. You got your target list, sustainment and signal requirements are refined. The tentative plan is updated with every piece of information you can possibly put in it. And then poof, this is the plan. So you got everything that's good. Usually you shop this to the team. You put it out in front of the team. You go, hey, here's the plan. Is this doable? Are there any huge red flags right now? You give the team one last shot to be like, and this is, support included. Hey, are we going to be able to get all of those like computers that I needed for the IT request? Okay, cool. Vehicles, I'm green. Awesome. Ammo. Yep. You just go right down the line. And then typically you ask the team, hey, can we fail anywhere? Is this it? And they look and they're like, okay. We're like, okay, that's the plan. So that's kind of like the team brief to the plan process right there. People think it's kind of like over there. It's really not, right? So as you will progress in your life, you're going to have to like go tell this plan to somebody and get it approved. Like when you're a guy on team, you get the team plan. You're like, oh, okay, that's great. Well, then team leadership typically goes and briefs the boss. They go step 7. They issue the order. So they basically get their plan approved, and then we issue the order in step 7. It's typically issued verbally following the standard format of the 5-paragraph op ord. Ideally, the issuance would be an AOR vantage point, at an AOR vantage point overlooking the objective. However, due to security or other concerns, there's typically a sand table, a map, or other means. This is a great time to build a huge sand table. I have pictures of a really good one from an exercise we did, but man, this is time to walk your plan through and essentially get it approved.
Yeah, playing in a sandbox. So a sand table can be anything. It really can be a sandbox, or it can be a bit massive floor where you've taped out an airfield, or you've taped out buildings, or you've printed out, Intel's printed out a massive map, or you're just talking to a whiteboard. But it's any kind of rehearsal. That way you can, again, get some of those friction points. And if you go back through some of the steps, you'll hear that, okay, you're conducting rehearsals numerous times without these steps. You're conducting PCCs and PCIs numerous times throughout this, because what happens is if you only did it once and then a few things changed, or maybe you didn't really flesh out that, that particular plan, then you're going to fail. Because I can't remember if I said it beforehand or if I said it during this, but no plan survives first contact. So as soon as something goes wrong, you've got to have those contingencies. You got to have a resilient and a robust plan going forward, so that when that initial plan doesn't work out, you can fall back on the next one.
And when in doubt, you just go straight back to the troop leading procedures. So if you just think of everything as a new mission, like, hey, the initial mission was a PR event, right? We were just going to go pick this guy up. Okay, well, when we got on target, we found out there wasn't one guy, there was 4 guys, and we weren't prepared for this, and we're not going to be able to move nearly as fast. Okay, well, just treat that like a new mission. So now you're like, okay, well, I am with the resources that I have, and now this new mission of having 4 people is right over here. Okay, well, then I should get a WARNO out, like tell the team what you're going to do. And then you're going to make a tentative plan, figure out what we're going to do, and then initiate necessary movement. So then, as you can see, you just go right through the steps, but you can just do it like it's a new mission. And you'll look like a genius, because you're just fixing problems as they pop up. And you're like, I'm not doing it. I just started back. I forgot what I was doing. So I went back to square one, and troop leading procedures, follow you through it. So anything else on issue the order here? So we're briefing the boss. We're getting the go ahead.
Yep. I don't think I have anything else on those. I just wanted to highlight, though, because, PCCs or inspections or pre-combat checks, rehearsals, they go on through nearly all of these. Maybe not every single one, but you're talking about initiate a movement, complete the plan, issue the order. There are PCCs, PCIs, and rehearsals through all of those.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
And then we move on to the last one, step 8.
Yep. Supervise and refine. So this is where we're actually into the plan, right? People forget about this, step 8. So supervise and refine. You're going to make sure that your plan is working. You're going to take note of friction points for the debrief, because typically what you should be done with any event is you should be able to produce an AAR and talk about how to get better. Typically in step 8, we also talk about risk management. So we're going to talk about, the 3 risks that you plan for. You plan for risk to mission, risk to force, and the third handy risk is the risk of inaction, or why now, essentially. So risk to mission is something that could make the mission fail. So if you're looking at what risks to mission are out there, risk of force is easy, or risk to force is easy. Risk to force is this could hurt or kill somebody. Jumping is inherently dangerous. Climbing is inherently dangerous. That could hurt one of our dudes. So risk to mission would be some sort of event that would turn the entire mission off. If we were going on a hostage rescue and part of our plan was to blow the building up where the hostage was, that's risk to mission, right? Like, we're not hurting ourselves, but the mission we're going to go do is inherently going to be, impacted negatively by that choice. So, that's risk to mission or risk to force. And then why now, or risk of inaction. Typically that's a pretty nuanced way to look at it. I can't remember where I picked it up, but it might've been from Colonel Buller in his course. But why now? Why do we need to go do this? If it's a recovery, typically you have a little bit more risk risk aversion for recoveries, right? If it's just a recovery of a piece of equipment, like you don't need to risk the team's life for that. You can figure out a way to make this happen on a longer timeline. Conversely, if it's a pilot that's shot down in enemy territory, like the classic, behind enemy lines sort of scenario, you might have to go. You might have to go blazing into battle, and you're going to have a little bit more, tolerance for risk. You're going to say like, okay, well, this is dangerous, but it's worth it, so we got to go.
Yep. And guess what else happens in this last step 8? The final PCCs, final right. PCIs, and guess what? More rehearsals, right? All that happens again. So I think that's a total of four PCCs, four times where you're conducting PCCs, PCIs, and rehearsals.
Yeah.
So like it is so important, so important.
Yeah, and good teams will just build this in. Like it's like a constant. Somebody is always grabbing your gear. Somebody's always checking something out. Somebody's picking your chute up or moving your. Like, hey, it just happens all day, all the way through the mission. So
yeah, and it's pretty I don't want to say it's seamless because a new team that hasn't necessarily worked together, they've got to work through those kind of things. But once you get into a well organized team, like it is awesome to see, and it's pretty fluid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So TLPs, if you just started fixing problems just like that, and you can find this anywhere. I just went on to armyupress.mil to look at one of the journals they had on troop leading procedures that I was using out of here. So shout out to Command Sergeant Major Frederick Hurd for putting this out in 2019. Thanks, buddy.
There's a lot of stuff out there for sure.
Yeah, it's easy to find.
You can find, and it's if you were going to read the publications and the doctrine, like it'll put you to sleep.
Just read the articles on
realize, yeah,
it's easier.
You said a couple other, I said you and me said a couple other acronyms in there that I wanted to hit. You mentioned METT-TC,
mm-hmm.
So I wanted to go through that real quick, and I know it is an aspect of not just troop leading procedures, but it's an aspect of everything. You'll hear it. One of the funny things is at the weapons school, everybody answers with "it depends." Like if they're asked the question like, "Hey, could you do this?" or "Is this possible?" Well, it depends, and then there's the answer, right? So that's kind of what METT-TC is, because you'll hear people on the soft side go, "Well, that's METT-TC dependent," and it's like, okay, well, of course it's METT-TC dependent. Everything is, whether I make it to the grocery store, safely is METT-TC dependent. So, but I wanted to highlight that because we do have a habit of talking in acronyms, not just us, but military in general. Like it's a whole other language. You could have a full conversation with almost just acronyms. So METT-TC stands for Mission, Enemy, Terrain, Troops, Time, and Civilian Consideration. So METT-TC. And then, so what you're looking at then is, what's quite simply, like I'm going to oversimplify it, but it's what's the mission? What's the enemy disposition, or what's their enemy situation? Terrain, what's terrain? Am I mountains, ocean, snow, urban area, whatever it is? Like, what is the terrain? Who do I have available? Is it just me? Do I have, an STT available? Am I going with a SEAL team? Like whatever that is, what troops are available? If I'm going to the grocery store, troops available are me and Donna. That's it. Like, and we're gonna take over the grocery store.
Take over the grocery store, direct action.
Yeah,
let's go, Donna.
Yeah, exactly. What's the time associated with it? How much time do we have? When are we moving out? Like anything involving kind of a timeline. There you go. And then civilian considerations, as in like, okay, is this a high collateral damage area that we've got to worry about, or we don't have to worry about anything like that? Like, then that's METT-TC. I don't know if you had anything on that.
No, crushed it. I was just pulling up this Word doc so I could read off of it, and you had already hit it. So it's almost like you live that life. It is funny though. I do like it. Quickly becomes like the team joke. Like, inshallah is kind of right along these veins as well. People will be like, well, I mean, could you do it? And I'm like, I don't know, METT-TC dependent. It becomes like the shrug off moment of basically anything. It's your get out of jail free card. Anybody ask you any question, be like, oh, it's METT-TC dependent, dude. Like, I'm out of here.
I don't know. We'll find. We'll see.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I do love that. That's the team joke du jour.
For sure. And again, like, you know, we kind of preface this that it's going to be a little bit nerdy, and
yeah, for sure.
But I mean, really, it's like at this point, it's about getting it in front of you, trying to get you to understand it, at least initial eyes on, so that you're familiar with it, and then it's only going to set you up for success later. Because, I mean, dude, these TLPs haven't changed in. I mean,
forever. I don't know if
these were probably Vietnam established.
Yeah,
I really don't know.
Priorities of work and troop leading procedures. You don't need to memorize those things. Like, you don't need to rip off your priorities of work, or, you know, just live your life by them. I don't want you to have a chest tattoo of, you know, the troop leading procedures. That's not the point. But if you
that would be awesome.
I would. I will tell you, you will blow an instructor away. You will blow a military peer away if you just like, hey, here's how we plan and here's how we do things, because it's a formalized process. If you're just even aware of it, you will blow somebody away. They'll be like, oh my God, like you will be a genius to them in that moment. So maybe that'll help you, you know, give you an extra carrot, is you'll get to dunk on somebody in real life. It'll be great. And it'll be through your knowledge.
Oh man. Priorities of work. That's a good point. Because there's like, we've talked about it before, you know, like, how to be a good dude. And there's obviously a bunch of things on how you can be a good dude and that kind of stuff, because everybody wants to be a good dude. Or at least a valuable member of the team. And one of the ways you do that is by your priorities of work. And what does that mean? That means taking care of, you know, common gear before your own, taking care of everybody else. It's almost that kind of service mentality. What needs to be done for the unit? What needs to be done for the team? What needs to be done as a group level versus taking care of myself first? So, hey, we just get done with a dive. There's a bunch of tanks on the boat. I'm not grabbing my dive gear and putting it in a truck before all the tanks get offloaded off the boat. Same with parachutes. Like after a jump, you know, but like, let's get everything uploaded or loaded onto the truck or whatever it is. These are all things that need to be done that don't necessarily involve my personal individual things. Once all that is done, now I can take care of my stuff.
Exactly. So this actually came out of, so if you Google priorities of work, typically priorities of work, Army works the best, you will find a crap ton of images, stuff that say like patrol base activities, and they all flow in a certain pattern, right? Like there's a bunch of little hand cards that you can find that'll print out that can help you with the topic that we're talking about. But there's always a task, and it's establish local security. You know, for this one, this is defensive priorities of work. Establish local security, position key weapons and vehicles, position squads in assigned sectors, set up a commo net, coordinate with adjacent units for interlocking sections, clear fields of fire, prepare range cards, prepare squad and platoon sector sketches, set final protective lines and fires and priority targets. So basically you're doing all of these things. Nowhere in there did it say, go grab a bite to eat. Nowhere in there did it say, you know what I mean? Like these are your priorities of work. The team gear, the mission has to come first. So you can apply this, to whatever, security first, foremost, and always is how we start any of these things in the tactical sense. But you could list anything you want in your life and be like, okay, well, what priorities do I need to get done? Like every single time, and just default to priorities of work. And you'd be highly efficient. You would have so much more efficiency in your life because you would just stomp through problems. You'd be like, oh, here's a way to plan. This is our priority. This isn't. Here we go.
And as somebody who is a closet fat guy and that always likes to eat, like I prioritize food over sleep, obviously, because you can tell right here. But it doesn't mean that you can't like chop somebody off. Hey, everybody go get, or not everybody, but hey, you go get some pizza. Go get 5 pizzas for everybody. That way, people can be focused on doing work, and then shove some pizza in their face because you still got to feed the machine. So, that is also a priorities of work, and kind of taking care of future you instead of because
I love how food dependent you are. I love it. You know why? Because it directly benefits everybody. This is one of those where like
exactly
every chief has an ism. Yours is just like, nah, we eating, baby. We don't miss meals in this family.
So anybody that's active duty that's listening to this is going to probably agree with this. But if you were ever offered, hey, let's just work through lunch.
No.
Don't work through lunch.
You never work through lunch.
Hey, if we can just work through lunch, then we'll get out early. We'll get out an hour and a half early.
Oh, no.
We can get out of here early. No, you never leave early. It doesn't happen.
One troop in Vegas. Oh man, that was the running joke all the time. Kyle Holland, some of these other dudes. I'd be like, "Hey, you guys want to work through lunch and get off early?" And they would just laugh. They'll be like, "I'll see you in an hour and a half. We're going to the raceway. Yeah. We're going right over here, baby."
Yeah. You always take lunch.
Always take lunch.
It is a fallacy that
it is a myth.
You're going to get out early.
You're
if you
never
work through
getting
lunch.
off early. Ever.
No.
Never. That 4:00 tasking is coming. Just get up for it. Just get excited about it, Get to work for this great nation until 17:30 every day.
Yeah. Well, and not just that. Like you'll see it deployed. You get a lead. Get lead or key planners in a mission planning cell, and they are focused on the mission. They know they've got to get all this done and all these minute details planned out. And then next thing you know, it's been 36 hours and they haven't slept.
Right.
And they're 12 hours out from going on the mission. And you're like, dude, you need to sleep.
You need to take a nap.
Because if you don't, you're going to be worthless.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're going to get sleep when we're out on patrol?
Right.
No. Well, that ain't happening.
Chris Wilson in the HKI pod was talking about he would just take some naps. He was like, I just decided it was better for me. I would just take like a 2 or 3 hour nap a couple times a day. Just whenever I could, I would just lay down and take a couple hours. He's like, that way I never crashed all the way out. Because some guys were just working, continuous, just 24 or 48 hours at a time until they just crashed out and they needed 6 hours of sleep. Chris is like, man, I would get like 6 hours a day, but it would be 2 hours here, an hour here, close my eyes for a little bit, in the truck, blah, blah, blah. But man, you have to get it somehow.
Yeah. I was doing the same thing in terms of like whenever we'd be out on patrol, it was kind of funny because we get AC-130 support or some kind of aircraft support, and that's usually 2 hour plus, right? Hour and a half, 2 hour plus. And then usually they're hitting an aerial refuel track too. So I get even more time, and AC-130 is always at night. So guess what? Guess who's got to control them?
Mm-hmm.
Me. So I would have those guys like, there's no reason, you always have security at night. So there's no point in those guys being awake if I'm going to be awake anyway, and I've got eyes in the sky. So I would almost be up for several hours a night controlling aircraft. And then when it came to daytime, we're going out on patrol. So if we were doing a mounted, in vehicles, I would be passed out during the day, and I initially I felt kind of guilty about it because I'm like, oh, I need to be full up on security. That is unsustainable. Could not do that. So luckily the team sergeant, like I said, I was a young airman at the time, but the team sergeant's like, dude, you just stayed up all night, and we all sleep better out in the field when we hear that out in the distance. So you just go ahead and sleep during the day. And then if we get in a fight, and I guarantee you'll wake up. Sure enough, when you get in a fight and you start hearing that 50 cal just fucking, you're like, okay, I'm up.
Yeah, no, I'm awake. Cool. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Are there any other, are there any other acronyms? Yeah, I think there's tons of them, but
name all the acronyms right now. Cause if you miss one, somebody's going to hop up in the comment section and be like, I can't help but notice that you did not include this acronym in what you guys were talking about. We're going to be like, tight.
I know there's one, there's Go TWA is one.
Yeah, I got one.
You know, where am I going?
It's a 5-point checklist.
Who else am I taking with me? What time I expected back? What to do? Like the kind of contingency if I don't come back at the time I said, and then what to do or what to take if I get hit and that kind of stuff. So there's that one. I was thinking about that during METT-TC, but I'm sure there are some. You're right. Somebody's going to call us out in the comments.
It always happens.
Which is fine because you know what? Just gives me more ammo to do another episode about it.
Yeah.
And nerd out even more.
Nice. Yeah, and it's funny too as you go through these planning things. Like there's little mnemonics that we make, for all of these things. Like, oh, you're going to do MDMP or are you going to do TLP? Okay, cool. I'll help you with your GATWA, and like it just every single thing has a sub mnemonic and acronym underneath it. Like you could have this entire conversation and never explain anything. It'd be the most confusing thing on the face of the planet.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, this can be a shorter episode. I don't really have anything else on TLPs. I kind of threw it out there because I wanted to get it out just to get, as a mentorship kind of thing.
Well, yeah, just to get eyes on. Again, you don't have to know these. You don't have to live your life by them. We're not asking you to be like a Ronin, like out in the woods and all you do is read doctrine. Like that's not the point. But what you'll see is, no kidding, when you're in a course, like a course that's running well, you can see them working through these steps and you can see that they've planned appropriately, or, when you're around high performing teams like Peaches was talking about earlier, and you can see all the different people doing their assigned tasks really well together. Like usually it's following one of these, structured systems that we have, and we use it because it works. So there you go. You might as well at least be, the smartest guy that you've ever heard of inside of your like basic training flight. You're going to crush it. You're going to wow somebody to death.
Really, really wow them.
Really wow them. Really give them a little pizzazz.
And just real quick, I was trying to look up when Army troop leading procedures were established, but I'd have to go through reading it to figure that out. But I guarantee it was probably like one of the world wars,
Revolutionary War. I don't know.
I mean,
like
it's got to be so old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, bro.
All right. Well, we're out here. Don't forget to hit our store. We do have some new shirts. We got the kind of PJ shirt.
Ooh, yeah, get it. Nice.
Yeah, got a PJ shirt. We got some flags. We got our normal hero shirt is back. And then again, don't forget to check out CardoMax, Hoist. We've got Eberly Stock, 18 Alpha Fitness, Trench Coffee. Sure, I'm missing somebody. Eberly Stock. So we got a bunch of people.
Gray Man.
So go support them.
Beaver Fit.
Yep.
What up?
Oh, that's right. Gray Man from Beaver Fit.
Yep.
So, yeah, we got good folks out there that are, veterans, or they're just fantastic people. I know you guys were just with Eberly Stock creating some content, so I'm looking forward to that coming out.
I'm excited. Yeah, male model.
See your smiling faces.
Yeah. Trent and I basically heckling each other. If you said one word wrong, it was just over. Trent and I were just savage on each other the entire day. It's pretty funny.
Well, that's good. I'm glad I didn't go then. Since on the spot I couldn't go, oh, what is GRG? Jeez.
I love it. You would have been fine. You'd have been fine. We even included you in the joke, so you were there in spirit.
Awesome.
It's awesome.
All right, everybody. Well, appreciate you tuning in, and thanks for joining. Yeah. Don't forget to leave us a review, please. Yeah. It helps.
It's free. Just smash that subscribe button. Just smash it.
Break it. Just break the internet.